I think this is the beauty of the vision that our founding fathers had
Yes.
for the people. And
That's
it
right.
was to limit power over the people.
That's right. When we come back, Gwen, hold that thought. When we come back, let's talk about how we're slaves and where it all started. You're listening to Freedom Link Radio, folks. Don't go away. Welcome back to Freedom Link Radio, folks. The website, www.thefreedomlinkradio.com. You can email us at thefreedomlink@centurylink.net. So right before the break, we were just talking about how we were slaves and how we can't own anything. And it's funny because that was the grand plan all along, wasn't it, Gwen?
Oh, for a good long time it was.
Now, did it start with the Federal Reserve?
No.
It's kind of hard to fathom, but the way that I see it is that, here we go, we fight our asses off and we get the United States of America, right? We get our own little area, our own little piece of the world. The first real experiment into what freedom and liberty is all about, really, because before it was really groundbreaking. Never before was there a country that embraced these concepts. And right off the bat, as soon as we gain our freedom and as soon as we gain our sovereignty, the powers that be are at work trying to take it away and have been successful because of one thing, they are, above all else, they're patient. I mean, this has been over how long, Gwen,
Right. Well, in 1871, we became a corporation, and we didn't be a corporation. The United States government became a corporation, and a foreign corporation at that. So at that time, that was less than 100 years after signing the Declaration of Independence. And unbeknownst to most, simply because they were lied to in the public school system, to believe that the Civil War was about slavery, it barely, if anything, had to do with slavery. It had to do with states' rights. The South said, oh, hell no. You're not going to tax our cotton. You're not going to do that, And so they wanted to secede from the Union. And so the Civil War was about states' rights. Well, when they walked out in December, there's no quorum left in Congress. And so Congress couldn't reconvene. And so the only way to do the business of the government was for Abraham Lincoln to incorporate and make it a business, so to speak, so that there was a way for Congress to reconvene.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the Pilgrims and the Indians, and it's just all. It's like the people with the most money or whoever has the printing presses. History is their story. It isn't necessarily the truth, but that's what gets passed around and told, and it's all just, it's almost comical. I'll give you a perfect example of the impression that they give, because they always do it with visuals.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that most stands out in my mind is all of the pictures that you see of the Pilgrims and their first Thanksgiving. Our people, it's a day of mourning for us. We don't I mean, we're not like having a whole bunch of fun on Thanksgiving. But this is the deal. You look at the pictures of Thanksgiving. The pilgrims are all dressed in these warm, nice clothes, and they're all clean. They're not even rumpled or anything. And the Indians are in breechcloths. Now, I'm here to tell you, I mean, you live over in that country, Joe. At the end of November, I would venture to guess that it's pretty chill, and anybody in their right mind would have more than a breechcloth on.
You could say that.
But do you see what I'm saying about the visual? That whoever's telling the story of history attaches to that. And
Absolutely.
And I don't care what you tell somebody. What you tell them goes into their right brain. What they see with their eyes goes into their left brain. That's the way it is. I mean, that's
Right.
the bottom line. So that is the way that we become programmed in the lies, and then those lies just keep growing generation after generation. So quickly, I'm going to give an overview of Edward Mandell House, Colonel Edward Mandell House.
May I say something? May I just interject
Sure.
something? Grrr. Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay. Edward Mandell House.
And by the way, before you go any further, Gwen, this is weird because this is one of those Scooby-Doo moments or bad movie moments where the villain always tells you what he's going to do before he does it.
Yep.
So go ahead, Gwen.
All right. Colonel Edward Mandell House, he helped pick the charter members of the Federal Reserve Board in 1913. But prior to that, his father had friends in the Ku Klux Klan, and at that time the Klan was dispensing vigilante justice, and after the Civil War, and then a new legitimate government was born out of that, which was the Texas Rangers, and many of those Texas Rangers were members of the Klan, and Edward Mandell House was the master. And he gained a lot of loyalty by stroking their egos and, giving them favors and that kind of thing. So he used his money and influence to make them famous, and basically inherited the Texas Ku Klux Klan. Well, he also got 4 Texas governors elected, and then was basically the governor behind the scenes because he basically told them what to do. And so then he got involved in all of these roundtable organizations, and that's where they had started making the decisions. And between 1901 and 1913, the House of Morgan and the House of Rockefeller formed close alliances with the Dukes and the Mellons. This group consolidated their power and came to dominate other Wall Street powers, including Carnegie, Whitney, Vanderbilt, Brown Harriman, and Dillon Reed. The Round Table Group wanted to control the people by having the government tax people and deposit the people's money in a central bank. The group would take control of the bank and therefore have control of the money. The group would take control of the State Department and formulate government policy, which would determine how the money was spent. The group would control the CIA, which would gather information about people and script and produce psychopolitical operations. Sorry.
No sweat. This stuff makes me sick too.
Focused at the kind of get stuck in your throat.
Yeah, I hear you.
So anyway, okay, so they wanted to consolidate the nations of the world into a single nation with a single bank under their control.
Our one world government. Our yes, matey.
And a single international security system. So this was some of the first legislation of the Wilson administration was the institution of graduated income tax in 1913 and the creation of a central bank called the Federal Reserve. An inheritance tax was also instituted. These tax laws were used to rationalize the need for legislation that allowed the establishment of tax-exempt foundations. The tax-exempt foundations became the link between group members, private corporations, and the university system.
So now Gwen, was this like entitlements too, like the endowments, like the Carnegie Endowment and all those
Yes.
kind of things? Gotcha.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to go into break, and then when we come back from the break, I am going to read to you from the notes, the secretarial notes that were taken in a private meeting between President Woodrow Wilson and Edward Mandell House, and it's going to blow your mind.
Yeah, it sure will. It sure will. And we also have coming up next hour, we got the King's Court. John King will be back with us. So we'll have so much to talk about. But this Edward Mandell House, what a piece of work. And by the way, Gwen, I'm going through one nasty electrical storm. So just in the off chance that I do lose power, you may be flying solo or with John the next hour. So I'm just warning you now because it just sounded like my house fell on top of me. But it didn't because I'm still here. And by the way, folks, anybody that wonders, because Mr. Glasgow Truther in the chat room says, now that pirates are Somali, do they really go arg? And I say no, they go arg. There you go. So when we come back, we'll listen to more of the Freedom Link Radio. We'll be right back with you. Stay tuned, folks. Don't go away.
Out from the make the sign stay this time.